There's a wound buried so deep in the human psyche that most people will spend their entire lives avoiding it. She's still within you, even if she's miles away, even if she's passed, even if you haven't spoken in years. Her presence isn't just in memory, but in the architecture of your mind. Carl Jung called this powerful force the mother complex. Not about your mother as a person, but the inner imprint she left behind. This inner mother, what Jung called the shadow mother, is made of unmet needs, silent expectations, and generational pain. It shapes your choices, your voice, your relationships, and how you see yourself. Here's the truth. You cannot fully heal until you face her. Not the woman, but the emotional pattern that still lives inside you. As Jung wrote, nothing has a stronger influence psychologically on the child than the unlived life of the parent. When you carry your mother's unhealed pain, you begin living a life that isn't yours. This isn't about blame. It's about reclaiming yourself, about grieving what was never given, honoring your inner child, and setting down the sorrow that was never meant to be yours. True healing doesn't come from resenting the mother. It comes from consciously meeting the mother within. In this video, we'll explore how the mother wound shapes your identity and how Jung's insights offer not just survival, but sovereignty. We'll uncover why you feel stuck, how your emotional patterns were formed, and what it truly means to let go. Because healing begins with one radical act: facing the mother in your mind. We begin by understanding the mother archetype in Jungian psychology. She's more than just the woman who raised you. She is a primordial force in the collective unconscious, appearing across dreams, myths, and relationships. She holds a dual nature, the nurturing creator and the smothering devourer. This great mother archetype is not just personal, it's eternal. And the journey to wholeness begins when we dare to confront both faces of her inside ourselves. The mother archetype is not just a memory. It's a living symbol that appears in myths, religions, nature, and even in the earth herself. In Jungian psychology, this archetype holds both nurturing and destructive forces. She is the one who gives life and the one who can emotionally devour it. Carl Jung warned that confusing our personal mother with the archetypal mother traps us in unconscious patterns, seeking love while fearing it, craving approval while expecting rejection. This inner split shows up in dreams and myths as both nurturing and devouring figures, like Mary and Medea, Demeter and Kali. When we don't confront this duality, we begin projecting our wounds onto others, hoping they'll heal what we haven't faced inside. Healing doesn't come from blame. It comes from understanding. Jung said the deepest burden a child carries is the parent's unlived life. Messages of unworthiness, guilt, or shame get embedded in the psyche and shape our adult relationships, self-worth, and ability to love. True transformation begins not by changing our mother, but by confronting the inner mother, the emotional imprint within us. This sacred work reconnects us with our intuition, emotions, and soul. The mother is not just a person, but an archetype, the body, nature, mystery, and life itself. The shadow mother, the controlling, guilt-inducing aspect, keeps us trapped in cycles of self-betrayal. Her power lies in guilt that shames us for wanting independence. But Jung taught that even the shadow holds a gift. She is the dragon guarding our gold. When we engage her consciously, through grief, rage, and inner dialogue, we reclaim the lost parts of ourselves. Healing is not about severing the bond, but integrating it. It's the journey from psychological captivity to inner freedom, the path of individuation. This is the story of a psychological death and rebirth, the end of the dependent child and the rise of the sovereign adult. Though it brings grief and emptiness, it clears the illusion, allowing the soul's fire to return. The shadow mother is not your enemy, but a fierce awakener. When faced with courage, not blame, she opens the path to freedom. This isn't just personal healing, it's ancestral liberation. a breaking of psychic chains. At the core of the unconscious lies the internal mother, or what Jung called the mother imago, a psychic imprint formed early in life. It's not a reflection of the real mother, but a mythologized image shaped by childhood experience. If loving, it builds security. If rejecting or critical, it becomes a hidden saboteur, whispering messages like "you are too much" or "stay small." We project it onto partners, teachers, and friends, trapped in cycles of neediness, fear, or emotional numbness. Despite its harm, many remain loyal, hoping suffering will earn love. But Jung warned, this is a prison of the past. Healing requires recognizing this inner voice as illusion and reclaiming sovereignty. Unconscious loyalty to this image can distort adult relationships and drain vitality. This process isn't rebellion, it's individuation, becoming your true self. Jung taught we must consciously separate from the inner mother, confronting her through inner work, dialogue, dreams, symbolic rituals. It means surfacing buried emotions, grief, rage, betrayal, and reclaiming our voice and boundaries. But healing isn't just disarming the shadow. We must reclaim the light of the mother archetype, nurturing, creative, protective, by mothering ourselves with care, ritual, and embodied creativity. This is Jung's fourth separation, a symbolic break from the mother complex. It's not rejection of the real mother, but the archetype that pulls us into unconscious dependence. Without this break, autonomy is impossible. Jung called it a second birth, a painful but necessary rite. Avoiding it keeps us captive, stuck in roles of the obedient child or silent pleaser. To break free, the ego must die, and the true self, imperfect but free, must rise. After the death of the dependent self comes a sacred emptiness, a void once ruled by the mother's voice. If left unclaimed, the shadow mother returns, even stronger. Separation alone isn't enough. It must be followed by the creation of a new inner self, forged in awareness and the soul's own fire. Crossing this threshold awakens the sovereign ego, not inflated with pride, but grounded in self-trust. It acts not from fear or guilt, but from alignment and truth. It embraces uncertainty without needing approval. For Jung, this was a spiritual passage, a break from collective safety into the wild, sacred realm of the authentic self. This separation is not a rejection of love, but a turning toward truth. It's the choice to co-create meaning, not follow inherited scripts. Rituals like art, journaling, and symbolic acts mark this transformation, declaring, "The old is over." We honor the mother image, but claim our own sovereignty. Without this conscious break, the mother complex continues to trap us in repetitive, inherited emotional patterns. With it, we begin the journey toward the self. As Jung said, man's task is to become conscious of the contents that press upward from the unconscious. Psychological symptoms of the unhealed mother wound from a Jungian view. 1. Inner critic and chronic self-doubt. A harsh inner voice echoing early maternal disapproval that sabotages self-growth. 2. Fear of autonomy and clinging to dependence. Desire for freedom paired with terror of standing alone. Success feels like betrayal. 3. Guilt, shame, and inherited burden. Deep archetypal guilt tied to survival, linked with the mother's emotional state, carrying unlived parental pain. 4. Self-abandonment and people-pleasing. Wounds from conditional maternal love cause self-neglect and prioritizing others' approval. The ego, still trained to appease, often betrays its own needs to stay lovable and accepted. Boundaries feel threatening. Saying no triggers shame. Jung saw this as the ego wearing the mask of the obedient child, afraid of the inner mother's wrath and unaware of its own authority. 5. Repetitive relationships that reenact the wound. People unconsciously attract partners who mirror their mother's emotional patterns, distant, critical, or controlling. This repetition is the psyche's attempt at healing. But without awareness, it leads to suffering mistaken for love. 6. Core wound of not enoughness, a persistent feeling of inadequacy inherited from maternal neglect or impossible standards, manifesting as perfectionism, shame, and inability to fully enjoy life. 7. Suppressed creativity and fear of expression. When the mother archetype is wounded, creativity feels unsafe, and individuals fear their gifts will be rejected or punished. 8. Physical symptoms as the body's cry. Unresolved wounds can show as fatigue, anxiety, autoimmune issues, or eating disorders, symbolic expressions of the inner conflict. 9. Spiritual alienation and existential emptiness. A deep sense of disconnection from the feminine principle leaves the person feeling orphaned, endlessly searching for fulfillment. Jung emphasized these symptoms aren't personal failings, but signals from the soul that something vital is lost or hidden. Healing requires awareness, not blame; reclamation, not rebellion. The unseen child must become the adult who chooses to see themselves. That is where freedom begins. Next comes the hardest part: embracing the shadow mother. Jung saw this confrontation not as optional, but essential. It's a descent into the psyche's underworld, a soul-deep initiation, beyond ideas or surface-level forgiveness. It's a reckoning with the archetypal shadow mother, where true healing begins. To heal the mother wound is not regression, it's revolution. We grieve the mother we never had, rage at the control that stifled us, and mourn the years lost to illusion, not to blame her, but to liberate the soul. Freedom doesn't require forgiveness. It requires integration. We reclaim our lost parts, voice, rage, tenderness, and build boundaries not as walls, but as acts of self-respect. The goal isn't reconciliation, but individuation, the return to our inner authority. This path often begins in crisis. Identity crumbles. But from the collapse emerges a sovereign self, no longer controlled by guilt or longing, but rooted in quiet inner power. We stop shrinking to earn love and start living in truth. As we heal, creativity flows again. Words, visions, emotions. The inner mother shifts from judgment to intuition and care. Self-nurturing becomes sacred. Rest is honored. Emotions are allowed. We rewrite the old script of "I'm not enough" into one grounded in truth. Relationships evolve from reenacting wounds to true reciprocity. Purpose moves from approval-seeking to authentic contribution. Most profoundly, healing the mother wound is transgenerational. We become conscious ancestors, breaking cycles of inherited pain and creating a new legacy of wholeness. This is rebirth, not the return of the lost child, but the emergence of an adult guided by inner truth. As Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." The page is now blank. You are the author. Before you go, take a breath. This work is not easy, but it's sacred. If this message touched something deep inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Comment below and share your truth. Your voice could light the path for someone else. And if you know someone still trapped in the cycle of guilt, self-doubt, or mother hunger, share this with them. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to keep exploring the depths of the psyche and reclaiming your true self. Real love never asks you to shrink. You are not here to earn love. You are here to embody it. We'll see you on the path.